Many of the calls we get here at Mount Vernon Police Department involve some element of mental health or substance use, but rarely with those types of calls any sort of criminal intent. Here at Mount Vernon PD, we created the Integrated Outreach Services team to better handle those types of calls for service and leave officers available for crime calls. Joining me today in the roll call room is James Kammerer, the supervisor for iOS team. He's here to talk about who they are and how they help out in our community. James, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So Integrated Outreach Services, what all is that?
Yeah, so we're an alternative response team connected with the police department and the 911 system. We're a team of social workers, an ANRP, and just professional talkers where we can evaluate a call and self-dispatch ourselves to a situation. And we can assist officers. Sometimes we can wave them off, and it could just be the social workers that respond. And in some complex manner, we can develop a relationship and follow up with that crisis situation, no matter what the outcome of the call.
Okay. So a lot of times, the call could be better handled by someone with your background and expertise. And so are there types, or what types of calls can you go to independent of police officers?
There's mental health related calls, transient calls, business owners calling saying, hey, there's somebody, I think they need help. We just really want them looked after. And so we can come out there, introduce ourselves. We often bring snacks, we have water. Sometimes if it's early in the morning, we'll bring coffee. And it's one heck of a way to wake up.
Sure.
And start that relationship. Hey, how you doing today? Is there something we can help you out with? There's a place I can take you to. We have a day center that opens up, and that's a place that they can get coffee, they can get food, they can get other resources. And often it's a matter of letting them know where things are and what we can do to help, and just be a kind person in that moment.
Okay. So you guys are a part of the police department. Having social workers involved in an actual police department is a little bit new. How has that worked with you and for some of the folks that say maybe social workers shouldn't be connected to police departments?
I think social workers can be connected to anything. Okay. Social workers be connected to the library and be effective. Mm-hmm. It's really an opportunity to provide a different service at a different moment. And in law enforcement being the tip of the crisis, it comes in, a call happens, and often officers are responding to something without very little information.
Sure.
And in that very little information, we can go in also and figure things out. Sometimes, and most of the time, law enforcement's getting to things before the fire department. But again, social workers could be effective in any aspect of their environment.
What's some advantages to actually being in the police department versus not?
I think just that first part of being the first on scene, being the first relationship in the place, having an alternative availability to heated situations. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of relationships with a lot of people in the community. And maybe we can have a calming effect on a situation. Maybe we can help negotiate our way into a therapeutic outcome versus a jail outcome. And also, we can wave off an engine crew that is often 8 people and an ambulance, that we can divert that where their destination is the ER. We can talk, hey, maybe we need a place to be just for the moment. Maybe we just need to get some food in us. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can go to detox. Maybe we need to go to crisis triage. And we can avoid some of the heavier, expensive places and provide the most appropriate service.
Sure. So when you're working in your day-to-day job, this is what you wear. So not dressed like a police officer by any means, but still identified and have a police radio. So you're listening to the same radio that we are as officers and talk on the same frequency. So if something happens, heaven forbid, that you guys get in a situation where you need help, you got that direct line of communication with other first responders for that.
Absolutely. And I think that's When we're out walking around, just socially engaging ourselves with other folks, it is nice to know that we have a safety communication line. I know that if I had to pick up my phone and try and dial 911 in the moment, I would probably not be successful. But I'll get on the radio and I say, hey, I'm out in this place, and other officers know where I'm at. It's kind of neat too, because they get curious about what are the social workers up to.
Yeah.
And every once in a while we'll see them cruising around. What is James doing?
Yeah.
What is Mike doing?
Yeah.
And they're not like getting in our business. They're just curious also.
Yeah,
And so it's nice to know that there's that safety net of we are out in the community, and the community brings us all manner of things. So that's the benefit.
The team right now is you, and you mentioned 2 other people. How long have you been with the team?
I've been with the team a little over 3 years. I started in 2022 and came right out of grad school. I went to the UW for my MSW, and I've had a lot of experience before that, but coming out of the COVID times, this was a time to get out of my house, get out of my element, and literally be in the community.
Yeah. What kind of previous clinical experience did you have?
I've been a substance use professional since 2007, so it's been a long time. And working with folks that are struggling with addiction, and learning that addiction isn't always the one thing that is holding people from actualizing their life. There's mental health, there's physical health, there's all these other things that take a big priority in somebody's recovery. And again, learning that relationship, learning who that person is. And as I was doing my addiction professional work, it was really limiting to focusing on the addiction when there was all these other things, these other aspects of life that are really important to success. So that was my drive to get my MSW. And we all stayed home for 3 years, except for my predecessor, who was out. I saw her in the community and doing the things that she did, and that was really inspiring.
Yeah. So our program started almost 10 years ago,
Yes.
back in 2017, with one person. Like you said, she was out there and she was crazy busy. I remember coming back to work patrol as a sergeant, and Erin was just this person that was running around all over the place. And so in 2022, we expanded. And so what's the team look like when it's at full strength now?
So we're hoping to have 6 at full strength, and so that's the supervisor, our ANRP, and 2 teams of independent responders. And again, back to safety, if we have 2 people on a team, it just kind of provides 2 different minds of opportunity. One person can fully engage with the person, and then often there's other people there, so we can have other conversations happening. One person can be on the phone in a crisis, the other person can be driving. It really makes for the scene to be dynamic. So if we have these 2 teams of independent responders, then we would love to get out of a Monday through Friday schedule and get into a broader spectrum, because crisis happens all the time.
Right. Yeah. And you do more than crisis as well. You guys do some intentional outreach. Talk a little bit about that.
It's really just being part of the community and knowing where people are and knowing where people need help. And so we intentionally go visit those places. We'll trek through the woods. We'll hang out down by the river. We'll go where we need to be and meet people. And we're not meeting with the air of it's time for you to move. We're meeting with, hey, how are you doing in there? Do you need anything? It's gonna be hot today. I got water.
Yeah. Talked about Erin being busy. You guys staying busy too?
Absolutely. I do so much in the day, and so does our whole team, that it is really hard to keep track of what we've done. So we really make an effort the following day to sit down, and the first 15, 30 minutes we're going through, what did we do? How many calls did we make? How many 911 calls did we go on? what kind of tasks did we accomplish, and who do we need to follow up with?
Yeah. We actually got some numbers, some stats from last year in this quarter. So 2025, 2,031 field contacts for 265 different people. 81 diverted from the criminal justice system and 71 on case management. I want to talk about those a little bit. So 81 people diverted away from the the criminal justice system. What does that mean?
It's complicated, but it really is. We are working with people's legal issues and helping them meet their legal obligations. And so if I can get somebody to court who has a warrant, that's somebody who didn't get picked up by the police to go take care of that warrant. If I can help them get to their appointments and their probation, that's something that really aids them towards their healthy goals, and it keeps them out of the jail.
How often do you actually, when an officer's out on a call for service, are you able to intervene there and do some diversions?
Absolutely. I mean, I think officers have discretion on whether or not they can arrest in certain cases. And with us having a wide knowledge of our friends in the community, if they're out with somebody and we think we can be of assistance, we might show up. Usually we call and say we're coming.
Yeah.
But being a part of that decision, an officer doesn't necessarily want to arrest somebody, to take them to jail, knowing that they're going to go to court in the morning and they'll be out of jail. When we could come, maybe we have a relationship, maybe we have a plan, maybe we have an idea, and maybe that idea is something like crisis triage or detox, and something that is more long-term. And when it's one night in jail, it costs something, and 3 to 5 nights in detox is a significantly less cost.
Yeah. We actually highlighted one of the cases you were involved in on one of our recently monthly updates. And it was a theft case where somebody had committed a theft and had warrants out for their arrest, and the jail was willing to take and book a person into jail. But the officer called you and said, hey, look, I would like, if there's an option to not book this person, what do you have available? And you were able to help that person out.
Yeah. And I think that was a neat opportunity. It was somebody that I had a relationship with. And a lot of the things that we do end up being serendipitous. It's a fun word. But we don't know the answer to the problem, but we start with a relationship, and then something magical happens out of that relationship. And it was just a moment in time where I heard that this person's name was on the radio. I knew that they needed something, and then we were able to flip the story to a success story where they went to treatment, and then their partner went to treatment, and it's recovery can be infectious.
Yeah, awesome. The 71 people that you have on there about provided case management. What is case management? How does that work?
It's a funny number, but it's anytime we really don't see somebody in person. But it's also anything that we're doing to help aid that person along. So there's a crisis, there's a moment, and then all that follow-up work afterwards that helps logistically make a success story. And so we're continually making contact with folks and really providing that support so that they can get to their next steps. We can say the solution is a week away, but we provide little baby steps in between that week that make the solution less hard.
Okay. Moving into the first quarter of 2026, we're already at 100 people, and our diversion rate is way up. That's because now we're counting something additionally, right?
Yes.
What is that?
We've, with Morgan on our team, with her ANRP expertise, we're counting medical contacts and diversions away from the ER.
So ARNP, Advanced Registered Nurse Practice.
Yes.
So a nurse
Yes.
on the team. Yeah.
And she's doing wound care. She's doing medications in the field. She's working with primary care doctors. She's working with folks to get connected to their doctors. And it's a whole host of things that I already said that we're looking for the whole person. And it's a lot of ideas that I didn't come up with myself because I have my perspective and she's got her expertise. And so it's really neat to see her impact in our world.
Yeah. I was talking to Chief Harris from the fire department the other day, and we were talking about that money savings for diverting somebody away from the emergency room. And it actually costs an ambulance ride alone anywhere in Mount Vernon. It costs basically $1,200 to get somebody from the field to the emergency room. So having Morgan available to do wound care in the field and do that treatment and avoid that ambulance ride. And that's just the ambulance ride. Then you're talking, somebody's in the ER and the cost associated with that. It just makes more sense to be able to do it this way. You talked about your friends in the field. Tell me more about, why do you call them friends?
I think, so I've had a clinical background of working in an office, and I have clients or have people that have enrolled in our program. And we work in the community. Everybody that we contact is somebody that we're working with. So I could call them community members. It doesn't roll off the tongue very well. Right. Hey, this is my community member and I'd like to help them get enrolled in service. It's a lot easier just to say, this is my friend and I'm here to help them get through this process. And I think it just is a different aspect of the work we do. And it breaks down some barriers. We're working off of relationships, and they're our friends. They're people that we care about, and we want to help them get to something healthy.
Seems like a very person-centered approach to things.
Person-centered is the buzzword, and it is exactly that. As we are trying to help our friends be more successful in our community. They're members of our community, and it's important to help them. Like everybody else.
For sure. With these diversions and case management cases we've been talking about, you have some success stories that we can share?
Oh, absolutely. So we shared the story of somebody going to jail because of a theft. And then there's this other story that really, it pulls on my heart because I met it in one day and it was gone. And so there was a disturbance at our local business, and somebody was throwing something around and they obviously needed help. And so we were headed that direction, the police were headed that direction, and we ended up at all places, the Recovery Cafe. And there was a woman that was definitely in need of help. And she was having trouble regulating, having trouble expressing herself. And out of all that, another guy comes out of the corner, and he was also in need of help, but he started helping me help her. And so we were helping calm this person down, and then aid showed up and aid took care of her, and then it was very apparent that she was overdosing and needed help in that moment, and aid took it and she was gone. And in the meantime, I'm with this guy that he was helping me. And then if you imagine, there was adrenaline and some blurriness, and now he's being arrested.
Okay.
And I'm like, why is he being arrested? Warrants have a funny way of catching up with people at weird times.
Yeah.
And this person had a felony warrant that, back to discretion, there was no discretion to it. He had to go. He had an obligation. And I was like, man, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
So now I'm calm, and he's in the back of a car, and I talked to the officer. I was like, do you mind if I talk to him for a little bit? And they're like, sure. They opened the door, and so I have this whole conversation. I learn who he is. We kind of share this moment of, thank you so much for this help. This is a sucky situation, and now you're going to jail, but I want to help you because you look like you need help. And he's like, yeah, I really need to get to treatment. And he went to jail. I saw him the next day in jail through the glass, and it was very in the movies. I said, hey, I need to have you sign these papers. We're going to treatment. And He signed the papers. I talked to his lawyer. I went to court the next day when he had to appear for court. I presented the plan to the court and with his lawyer, and he got released to treatment. And within the span of 4 days, he detoxed in the jail. He got Suboxone in the jail, and he was off to treatment. And time went by, and I think 6 to 8 months went by, and the receptionist at the PD called and said, "Hey, there's somebody up here to see you." And I didn't recognize the name. And I come out and I recognize his face, and I'm like, how do I know this person? And literally I saw this person twice in a very short time. And he's like, "I'm so-and-so, you helped me, and I'm sober, and I'm employed."
Awesome.
And I'm like, and he lives here. This is our community.
Yeah.
So that's a long story, sorry. But
it's okay.
it's a one moment thing. I met this guy now 3 times, and I'll hold on to that.
And some of the stories are more crisis driven. Can you think of some incidents or give us an example of one that's actually in the immediate crisis? I know we had one a while back down on like the Riverwalk.
Yeah. And that was actually my partner, Mike.
Okay.
But that is a situation where we had a relationship with this couple.
So an existing relationship.
An existing relationship through our intentional outreaches, through our intentional trying to provide support and stability to folks. We had this existing relationship. An incident happened downtown, and then this guy is in a corner and he's going to jail, and then he pulls out a knife and puts it to his throat. And he's caged, he's cornered, there's nowhere to run, there's the river, the revetment, and a big wall, and a knife to his throat, and officers.
And then a wall of officers.
And then a wall of officers, because they're saying this guy's going to jail, but now it's a possible suicide, it's a huge crisis situation. And our team was able to come in, we had our vests, so that it makes the officers feel a little safer about our safety. And we were able to get close, and one of our social workers was able to communicate with that person, and the other social worker was able to listen and provide advice, but also ultimately what this person wanted was he wanted to make sure his partner was safe, and he needed to know where she was and know that she was going to be okay, and know that where he's at.
Yeah.
So it was just like this moment of humanity, and our team was able to communicate with him, communicate with officers, find her, communicate back to our lead social worker, who was able to say, "We found her, we know she's safe, she knows what's going on," and then provide some words of comfort that ultimately he was able to put the knife down. Officers were able to take him into custody, and he did his jail time. And we took care of his girlfriend for the night. We got her to our shelter and was able to follow up with her the next day.
Something that would have been very difficult for officers to do in the morning, or in the immediacy of going and finding, his partner, and you guys having that relationship to be able to do that was so helpful.
Yeah.
In that case, and in so many cases.
Yeah.
I got a couple of pictures I want to go through with you. This is the team as we are today. So
that's Mike on the right and Morgan in the middle, and that's me on the left.
So with Morgan too, we've talked a little bit about her. One of the great things is about having an ARNP a part of the team is she can actually prescribe medications, right? And so one of the things we've been looking at is, can we, maybe at the scene of an overdose, when somebody is now, again, in a position where they can talk and communicate with us, having her there to offer the opioid blockers, things like Suboxone or buprenorphine, right there, and say, "Hey, are you looking to get healthier?" "Yes, I am." "All right, let's do this right now," and actually get those medications to them to help them in their recovery process.
That's my selfie face.
That's a good one.
But this is Halloween. The Halloween fair last year in Mount Vernon, and part of, I know you were going to ask something, but part of one of the things that we do is pro-social activities. We want to include our friends in our community and bring them to things that we all go to with our families. And this was a fun time. We all dressed up silly, and we had the Cat in the Hat, and that was a big theme. I didn't get the memo because I was a Jedi, but
I think you did that on purpose.
Probably. Stick to what I know.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun opportunity to do things that aren't serious. Mm-hmm. And I think the non-serious things are where magic happens, because we get to know our folks way better, we have a good time, and we build some lasting memories.
Absolutely. This is some of the outreach you were talking about.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about what you're doing here.
So there was an older gentleman. This was way out the trail by the YMCA, and our day center, which is a resource center, a shelter that's only open during the day, was really worried about this gentleman, and they knew he had mobility issues. They knew he was out there without food. They knew he wasn't taking his medications, and they were honestly worried that he was going to die out there. And so we went out there with Nolan, our parks guy. I got to ride in the gator. That's kind of fun. And intentionally meeting somebody we've never met before. My name's James. I'm a social worker. I brought snacks. That's like an opening line. But getting to know him, we helped pack up. He rode in the gator back and ended up needing to go to the hospital, mm-hmm. needing medications, needing life-saving help. And currently, the day center was working with his Social Security to get that active, to get his health care active, and we're helping to keep him housed and hoping that he's going to get to an assisted living facility soon. Because the complex part is he's too complex for our shelter, and he is not connected with an adult family home yet. He's not complex enough to be in the hospital, but he needs care for living. So
lots of challenges.
That's case management, that's continuing to follow up, that's lots of challenges, and building a team of support that isn't just us, it's other community partners.
Right. Lots of community partners you work with. You've mentioned a couple so far, the Day Center,
yes.
Recovery Cafe. We can't even come close to, an exhaustive list of all the partners we have, but what are some of the ones we work with most frequently?
On a weekly, almost daily basis is the Skagit First Step Center in Burlington.
Which is what?
It's a community of tiny homes that they have about 47 homes, little 8x8 cabins. Mm-hmm. And it's really kind of neat that somebody can go there, and it's a program, so it's not a shelter. Okay. It's somebody can stay for 90 days. There's some process, but there's laundry, there's 3 meals a day, there's a little bit of case management on their part too, all on the part of trying to help somebody get to a better place at the end of 90 days. Mm-hmm. What's also a big part of it is they have law enforcement drop-off cabins. They have 3 cabins scheduled for law enforcement. They can drop somebody off at 2 a.m, in the afternoon, and ultimately we're finding our fellow and helping him get to care, and then we took him to shelter, and we continue to assess needs, mm-hmm. and it's a great program. Yeah. You mentioned other ones, community action, evergreen recovery, the hospital, the
sheriff's office has a crisis team.
Absolutely. We communicate with the sheriff's department fairly often, and urgent cares of all thing. So,
How so?
well, you talk about ER diversions. If somebody needs care and Morgan can't do it, an urgent care is cheaper than the ER. It gets the service that they need, and it's quicker.
Yeah.
We go in, we check in. Riverbend urgent care is great. They know us, they see us, and so is the one on Freeway Drive. So we love them.
Good. And it's something that, if it's not really an emergency level, now you're not taking up space in an emergency room that's already taxed.
Right.
And overburdened with what they're going. And so diverting them to urgent care seems like it's something good.
It's something good that we can do in our shift too. It shrinks the amount of time that we're helping. If we drive somebody there, sometimes we have to drive them home.
Sure.
So it's if we can get in and get out and get on to the next thing, we're utilizing our time and helping out the most amount of people.
Yeah.
That's probably how we got to 2,000 people in a year, is just we're constantly moving.
Yeah. And it seems like, you talked about like the guy in the tent dealing with some of the folks that are unhoused. And I would imagine it's hard to say, okay, well, you've got a doctor's appointment Tuesday, make sure you show up. But having, you guys with the relationship that you have in place, and Morgan with her medical background, to actually keep connected with them and make sure they make those appointments so they get healthy.
Yes.
And more in a position where they can be successful and achieve some of their, goals that they want to achieve. One of the other resources that we're about to get is what's been called the STAR Center. Talk a little bit about what that is and how that's going to help.
Yeah. So the STAR Center is a 3-prong approach to behavioral health. It's a detox and withdrawal management facility. It's a crisis triage facility for mental health crisis, and it's going to have a 30-day recovery co-occurring treatment center.
Okay.
And so we could bring somebody there, and we have our detox and we have the crisis triage in Bellingham, but this will be in our community, in our county, and it'll be find somebody, do you want help? I know where to take you, bring them there, get them checked in, and they get checked in, and we can follow up with them later. And I think it's going to be amazing.
I think so too. And like you said, Bellingham's a long ways away.
Yes.
Where's this one going to be located?
It's going to be right on Highway 20, in between Cedar Woolley and Burlington. So our 10 minutes?
Yeah, that old Northern State property that's out there, right?
Oh no, it's much closer.
Much closer?
Much closer.
Good, even
Northern
better.
State's off Fruitdale,
Okay.
And this one's by Life Care Center, before
Great.
Burger King.
Great. Even like you said, even shorter. We talked about some of the crisis calls you've been to. Some have kind of turned crisis as you were there. Tell us a story about the BB gun.
Oh my gosh. The BB gun isn't just the BB gun, it's a lifelong story.
Yeah.
But I've been in this community for 20 years, and I've known this person for 18 years. And I've been in this field, I've known of this person, I've worked with this person, and literally, if friend is no other way to describe. But in and out of crisis, and struggles with deep depression, and you guys have encountered him throughout this time, and him trying to end his life through you guys has occurred several times, and to great credit to you guys and your restraint, he's still here. But this one time, he had a police standoff. It ended with beanbags and a hospitalization, and then I followed up, and I was in his apartment and I was hanging out with him, and I'm looking around and I see a gun, and I'm like, like, what the heck? It was a little scary. Now I'm sitting there with a gun, and I go, dude, I'm taking this. And I take it and I unzip my vest and I put it in my, I took the magazine out and I was like, oh, it's a BB gun.
But looks real.
But I held it, I pulled the slide back, I released the magazine, and I'm like, it's a BB gun. And I said, I'm still taking it. And I put it in my pouch, and we talk a little bit more. And again, ER diversion, jail diversion. We're sitting there, crisis planning, safety planning. I just took a means of him ending his life away. I said, okay, now what are we doing?
Yeah.
Are we going to the hospital? And he's like, no, I just left the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay. So how are we going to make me feel okay with leaving? And so we continued that conversation. I took the BB gun. I came back to the office. I showed it to you, and I'm like, and again, anxiety and emotion and whatnot. I was like, we just did something.
Yeah. Something big.
And then we can speed the story up a few minutes. I returned the gun to the store, Big Five. I told the story, and they were like, sure, here's your cash back. And then I went and paid his rent.
So he's behind on his rent. You were able to get this potential lethal means away from him, and then return the gun, and now go back and make sure that money went to him paying his back rent.
And now
Awesome.
he's staying housed.
Awesome.
Out of this. It's just an amazing person, and I love our relationship.
Yeah.
So
We've talked a little bit about staffing, and when we're fully staffed, we're at 6. We'd love to get, and I know council's talked about, in a perfect world, we'd get 24/7 coverage, because these crises and people needing help don't just on banker's hours.
yeah.
And so getting staffed, we actually, we work with some of our local colleges to help supplement our staffing, but then also build that next generation of social workers. Talk a little bit about our intern program.
Yeah, I think our field is so small and there's such a great need. So helping grow our field is a pretty important part of our program. It was a huge part for our predecessor Erin. She wanted to really make sure that we were teaching and growing and providing structure to the new generation of social workers. And so we're continuing that. We currently have 2 social workers on staff, and one of them is here for a year, one of them is here for 6 months. But they come, we talk with them, we teach them, we encourage them, we talk about our ethics, we talk about our process, and they're getting a hill of knowledge out of all the exposure that we're getting. And we're not sending them off by themselves, but they are becoming partners to us, so that we're growing our team. When they're on duty, it's like we have more help, and it's really nice. And they're not just running a caseload, they're learning, but it's almost like having an extra coworker.
And we've actually had, I think we're on number 11 right now, and 2 of those have actually come back and been employees for us. And so it's a chance for us to kind of grow our program.
Absolutely.
Hopefully. So for these interns and people maybe that are interested in social work as a career, what kind of advice would you give the next generation of social worker?
I think just keeping our options open and expanding your horizons. I had no idea this was a field until I saw it as a field, and the amount of experience that we get through this career is going to lead into any other thing that a social worker wants to do. If you want to have your own business and be a private counselor, we counsel every single day. Crisis talk is counseling, and then we provide that follow-up. But also working with grants, working with legislation, working with our CROA members, which is our Co-Response Alliance. It's a statewide organization that's helping shape the field as it is. we're in everything at this. And we're not just at this department, we're in our city, we're in our county, we're in our state's business.
Absolutely. Well, James, you and your team are doing amazing work out there, and we sure appreciate the support that you give officers and to those folks in the community, helping them get to a healthier place. So thank you for all you're doing.
Well, thank you.
That concludes this episode of the Roll Call Room. If you enjoyed this conversation, hit subscribe and check out our Facebook and Instagram pages so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here in the Roll Call Room.